You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Good evening and welcome to the Sporting Time Show. I'm Doug Thompson. We have a great show for you this evening. If you are a parent or if you are a student athlete, we're going to get both of those areas covered. My first guest was a 2011 Mr. Kentucky Baseball. He was a Major League Baseball player. He now resides in Bowling Green and has his own company. And can't wait to talk to Mark Biggs. Welcome, Mark, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So it's been crazy. First of all, trying to get you on. I'm so glad you're here. You are super busy. You travel. Last time I saw you, I think, was on the third fairway at Kenny Perry's when you played through on us because we were so slow and you were hitting the ball so far.
I wouldn't go that far.
You're playing a lot of golf, though.
I'm doing my best to try to play as much as I can, but with business and family and stuff, it's tough to squeeze it in. But when I can, I really enjoy it.
But how was the golf game? I mean, give me a number.
Not great. Let's put it that way. It's more of a hobby than it is a competitive sport. That's for sure.
Did you get the bug though when you started playing golf? Did you kind of get because they sometimes it gets you and next thing you're doing is trying to upgrade on clubs and.
Oh yeah, hook, line, and sinker.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're with
it's just
me.
a competitive thing. When you go out there and you're playing any sport, you want to be good. You know what I mean?
Well, I do want to be good, but
want to is the key word.
I never attained that.
Yeah, want to is the key word for me too. There.
But you're 11 years removed from your high school days, and you have your own company, Biggs Financial Services, which is really growing. Kind of talk a little bit before we get into all the sports stuff about how did you get into the financial part of your career?
Sure. So, when I was 18 and signing with the Blue Jays, you have to learn how to manage your own finances and stuff as well. And so it was something from the time I was an adult that I've had to pay attention to and learn and, learn how to manage. And so an opportunity got presented to me with Ron Studel and Studel Financial my last year of playing baseball. And so I stayed there for 5 years and learned a lot and experienced a lot with them. And then just decided that it was time for me and my family to kind of move out on our own and do our own thing. And so it's just been something that's kind of been ingrained since I was an adult. And then just those opportunities have led to themselves. So. Yeah,
and you were always, talking to coaches, and you were always kind of older than your age was. I mean, you were very responsible, and you're a high school student athlete. Obviously, when you become Mr. Kentucky Baseball, you're good. What was it like to go through the process of being a high school junior and senior and having, the pro scouts calling, Coach Sanford, maybe reaching out to you, seeing them in the stands? What was that experience like?
It's definitely something that you have to get used to for sure, because when you see people there and you know that they're there to just specifically hone in and watch you, and they're watching your every move. You have to learn how to conduct yourself. Obviously, between the lines, you're playing the game to the best of your abilities. But when you're in the dugout with your teammates and you're warming up before the game and you're interacting with your friends and family that are in the stands and on the sidelines while you're warming up and stuff, you just really have to learn that eyes are on you at all times and kind of how to conduct yourself and not let that affect who you are, but to just be aware of people watching you. And then, when you're pitching or something and you see, 15, 20 radar guns go up as soon as you start your windup, it's hard to not focus on that at first. Right. But, kind of a humbling moment. We were, the opening game my senior year, we played E-Town every year. And so we were home and I was starting that game and there was 25, 30 scouts behind the home plate and throw the first pitch and it was a ball, I think, or whatever. But the second pitch was a changeup, I think, and the guy hit it like 6 miles. So it was like I had to walk off the back of the mound. It was like, all right, well, I've thrown 2 pitches, and we're down 1-0, and those guys are probably all going to leave now. But it's just an adjustment to learn how to go ahead and continue to be who you are on the field with all those eyes watching you.
Yeah, and we got about 45 seconds in this segment, but basically, it would be different if nobody was back there and somebody hit it out, but.
Knowing that those eyes are on you, it's just like, man, where do I go from here? You got no choice but to get back up on the mound, throw the next pitch,
Yeah, so. but sports is such a mind game.
Absolutely.
That you have to kind of stay within yourself which I would imagine would be really tough. And we got about 15 seconds left. I mean, was it that difficult?
It is, and it's just, but that's an idiom for life too. That you're going to get knocked in the teeth, and you got to learn how to get back up and get back on the horse and go do the next thing. So I think that's what makes athletes different from other people in the world.
Yeah.
After the fact.
Well, we're gonna take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about baseball and other sports, and transition into the major league. Stay tuned. More with Mark Biggs right here on the Sporting Time Show. Welcome back. Mark Biggs is my guest. And Mark, Mr. Kentucky Baseball, everything's going great. Now you have to make a decision. You're going to go pro. You're going to go to University of Louisville. You went the pro route. Was that a difficult decision for you to make?
Very much so. Yeah. I had a strong commitment to U of L. I love those guys, love the school, love the program. Obviously, the success that they've had over the last 10 or 12 years speaks for itself, that they run a great program and they're great men first. But ultimately for me, I knew that my end goal was to play Major League Baseball. Yeah. And I just thought, this is going to be the best route for me and my family. There's a lot of things that go into it. School was obviously important for me too. And the Blue Jays took care of that too. So that's a separate kind of thing, that if school's important to you and you request that as a part of your contract, they'll pay for you to go to school after the fact if you choose to do so.
That's great.
So that helped make it kind of a no-brainer for me at that point, because the negotiations got to where I was comfortable financially to do it, and then they were going to cover the school after the fact. So it just kind of made it a no-brainer at that point for me.
I can't imagine what it would be like to sign on the dotted line to be a major league anything. I would be high-fiving, probably running through the neighborhood. You probably didn't do that.
I would never do something like that. No, absolutely. It was a big day. Me and my family, signed all the stuff at our home with our scout, Nate Murray, who drafted me from the Blue Jays, and everybody was there and high-fiving and just hugs and, celebratory stuff all the way around. But then, it was right back to business. The next day I was on a plane down to Florida to get going with the team to finish out the rest of that season. So it was a quick turnaround, but definitely a celebratory moment.
So you're 18. Mm-hmm. You're on a plane to Florida. You're starting your minor league deal. I would imagine the culture, the diversity in players that you met,
absolutely,
had to be a little bit of eye-opening for an 18-year-old.
Very much so, and that's what people ask me all the time. They're like, do you regret your decision? Would you have done differently? And I say absolutely not. I've made lifelong friends from all over the world, really. You play with a lot of guys from Latin American countries. Yeah. You play with a lot of guys from all over the United States, and there's still friends that I got drafted with that got traded during the middle of our minor league careers that have gone on to play, that are still friends of mine. We text and social media back and forth, and people that are still playing in the big leagues, and people that got released before and after me that we still keep in contact with. And so just experiencing all that different cultural backgrounds and diversities and where people come from and their value systems, and you guys are working together cohesively for one goal. And you're together with those guys all the time, on the field, off the field, on the bus, in the hotel. That's the best part of it, to be honest with you. Aside from the competition, of course, but meeting those guys and learning about them, it's just, you can't put a value on that.
Do you remember your first pitch in the league?
I don't, because there's so many that go into all that. But it's just, I remember the nerves. It was almost like my legs were shaking up there the first time that because that guy, with the batting stance, is a professional hitter. He's there for a reason too. Right. And so it's just a different level of competition, and that's what brings the best out in true competitors. So.
And you, but you also played basketball in high school, right? So
absolutely.
My next question was, obviously your path into the major leagues, we know that, but are you an advocate for multi-sport participation?
Absolutely. If a kid wants to play 2-3 sports, whatever he and his parents decide, I'm all for it. I just think that the break from one sport is a good thing mentally. And then obviously training for different sports trains, different muscles and different, reactionary things from an athletic standpoint. You have to think differently, which I think is always good. A basketball, playbook is different from a football playbook, and baseball just alike, so there's different ways that it molds your mind and your body and all that stuff too. Yeah. And plus playing with different guys and learning how to, get in where you fit in with different groups and, guys and stuff like that, I think it's invaluable.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. We've got about a minute left. I told you it flies by. You've got a beautiful young family.
Thank you.
Talk about your kids for a second.
So my wife and I, we've been married for 7 years. We have a boy, Austin, who's 5, my daughter, Madeline, who's 3, and we have our third one on the way. He'll be here in October.
Congratulations.
So we're very excited and very, very fortunate to have the family that we have. And that's my biggest blessing every single day. I'll just say that up front. It's an honor to be a husband and a dad first. It's just that's what gets me up out of bed every day.
Oh yeah, the kids are fantastic,
They're the best.
and now that you have a boy and a girl, you'll be able to experience all of it. Mark, I got to get you back on. We've run out of time.
Sure.
But thank you very much for coming in today.
It's an honor. I appreciate you.
And it's so great to see you again. You
as
haven't
well.
changed a bit. I can't believe it. Anyway, stay tuned. When we come back, we have a parent, Lucas Forbes. You may know him. I know him. We know his son. We're going to have a great conversation. More of the Sporting Time Show right here, WNKY, NBC 40. Welcome back to the show. Well, my next guest I've known for 20 plus years. We have an athletic history background where I was on the short end of the stick. I won't get into that. He is a professor. He heads the Department of Marketing, Sales, and Social Media at WKU. And he also is the father of Patrick Forbes. And I'm glad to have him in. We're going to talk about a number of different things today. Lucas Forbes, welcome to the show.
Okay. Glad to be here.
It's good to see you. You know, you also have helped. Bailed me out on some baseball broadcasts. Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
That's amazing. And your knowledge of baseball is amazing, and it really helped me out.
But I volunteered to come back, and you never have me back.
Well,
no, I'm kidding.
No. Here's the thing. Patrick, was kind of getting into that zone where scouts are showing up,
Right.
and you're very, you're a parent, but you're kind of on the sidelines, right? You're not the, and so when we were broadcasting Bowling Green games, you really didn't want to say a whole lot about Patrick,
Right.
and that's understandable. But congratulations, first of all, on all of his successes. And, Mr. Kentucky Baseball, I had him on and he signed baseball, which I gave to my grandson. He needs to work on his.
Needs to be quicker.
Well,
Yeah, he needs to, yeah.
It's so small.
Right.
I need a magnifying glass to see it. I mean, I thought Buttrey, he was like
Yeah.
huge, and but it was very nice of him to do that. But I want to talk to you a little about, first of all, having a child, whether it's a son or daughter, who goes through the process. Us as parents, they little league or junior soccer or whatever it is. Did Patrick always gravitate towards baseball?
As a kid, I was thinking about this as we were preparing for this, and Patrick's interesting because there really were 3 levels of Patrick, which was when he was a kid, he was always a really good athlete and was one of the better kids on the team. And then in 7th and 8th grade, everybody else grew, and Patrick never grew. And so there was a 2 or 3 year period where, if you went to a 7th or 8th grade baseball game and were looking across the field, you were not going to pick Patrick as the kid. Oh, that kid in 3 years. Yeah, you just
Right.
would. I mean, he was small. I think he entered high school at 5'5" or 5'6", and then it wasn't really until freshman, sophomore year where he grew quite a bit, and then developed into. It was probably sophomore year before we were like, oh, this kid's pretty good.
But he's 6'4", right?
He's about 6'3", yeah.
6'3"?
Yeah, and
So,
people think he's
he really
skinny.
grew.
People think he's skinny, but he's 195 pounds. I mean, he's not a skinny kid. Yeah, he grew. He gained almost 100 pounds in high school from freshman year to senior year.
Wow.
So it was a big evolution, and that was obviously a big contributor to him improving. So he really went from a really good athletic 5th grader like everybody
Yeah.
else to sort of a shorter, smaller, less athletic kid, and then by sophomore year is when it sort of caught back up to him.
Well, he was on the Little League World Series team.
But he was the smallest kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that really threw me because his junior year we were broadcasting, and I noticed Patrick's bat speed. He seemed to have, he just was very fast. I mean,
Yeah.
he could turn on the ball quicker than, and then he comes back in senior year, and he looked different to me. He just seemed like he had grown
Right.
a lot. But yeah,
Yeah, he took major leaps. Some kids will take one leap where they go from being one level to the next level, and he really did that all 3 years. He went from, his goal his freshman year was to start on the JV team. That was his, just to play JV.
Wow.
And then by his sophomore year, I think it was COVID, but by then in a year he was probably going to be able to start in the varsity. And then by his junior year he was a Louisville commit. And then by his senior year, he was, having major league scouts at every game. And so, he took a leap every year for 3 or 4 years. And that's, it's all him. It's all his hard work and his effort. And, as parents, we just sit and watch. And
Yeah.
he's the one getting up and going to the gym and driving himself and eating and making himself eggs at 11 o'clock at night to gain weight. I mean, it's all him doing all that stuff.
That's really amazing. I mean, he is a very disciplined. You can just.
He's focused on baseball for sure. It's a goal.
Yeah, and he's also extremely modest. And I don't know, he is modest. I mean, he's the Mr. We have 15 seconds. Look, it goes by so quick. When we come back, I want to talk about what it was like for a family as he was named Mr. Kentucky Baseball, which, I mean, he was far and away the guy that should have got it, and he did get it. I'm going to talk to you more about some other things as well. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Lucas Forbes, more on the Sporting Time Show right here, WNKY, NBC 40. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Lucas Forbes is my guest. We're talking baseball. We're talking a lot of different things. Being a parent of a student athlete, and I was a parent of a student athlete. He was a soccer player, and whether you have a daughter or son or whatever, you hope for the best. Different parents interact differently with their kids' experience. I was more of the like to sit back and watch. My wife was more of the screamer, and I would have to sit away from her. And I always encouraged my son to follow his path. With Patrick, with the Little League and this and that, was it pretty natural for him, his path, and him making decisions on, well, I don't want to play basketball, or I'd like to play basketball, or I'd like to play tennis, or was he really just wanting to do baseball from the get-go?
Yeah, he's
later on.
Yeah, he's a very good basketball player.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to do both, especially with baseball and basketball because the seasons overlap.
Yeah.
So if you're in a team at Bowling Green where the basketball team does really well, they're playing until early April.
Right.
And baseball's first game this year was I think March 9th.
Yes.
So you're talking about missing a whole year. And as I mentioned in the previous segment, when Patrick was an 8th grader or a 9th grader, he wasn't like, Mr. Superstar automatically going to play. I mean, he had to work his way on the field as a freshman and sophomore before, he had solidified his spot, I think, going into junior year.
This is obviously a really special senior year for Patrick with all that was going on. And what amazes me, and I told Mark Biggs in a previous segment, that coming out of the regular season, the stats had Patrick hitting 600.
Right.
That's a crazy number, and it's not like he was a designated hitter. He was in the lineup every single game batting, and that's crazy. And the benefit, I guess, when you make decisions on where you're going to go, as Mark was saying, in college, you have the opportunity to bat and pitch.
Yeah, that was something for him that was important because I don't think he knows what's going to be his best position at age 21 or 22.
Yeah.
And he'll go into Louisville and we'll give him opportunities to do both. And that's important for him for sure because he's still learning how to pitch. I tell people this as a joke, but I coached him in 7th and 8th grade at the middle school, and he threw 0 innings for me. I never pitched him. He just wasn't. Yeah, he just wasn't. Capable of doing that in the 7th and 8th grade. And then for him 4 years later to be throwing, I think he threw 96 in one game against Warren East. It's an evolution for sure. But
So yeah, so if you want your son or daughter to be coached by Coach Lucas here, he may not get them to the best position. So pitching and young arms is a big discussion these days.
For sure.
At what age do the kids throw the curve, or what age do they do this? For Patrick, and I mean, he throws a wicked fastball, and he's got a number of different pitches. Were you ever concerned with how he went about doing that?
No, because he didn't really pitch that much. The year they went to Williamsport, that entire year he threw 1 inning. And
wow.
Granted that sophomore year was COVID, but his freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year combined at Bowling Green, he only threw 12 innings total.
That's amazing.
And so, and even last year as a senior, he only threw 30, which is not a lot when you play 35 games. And so he's always been conscious of it, and I think his parents were conscious of it. And then, as I said before, he just wasn't one of the top 2 or 3 kids in terms of pitching at the younger age anyways. Yeah. But yeah, there's certainly, I don't think a 5th grade kid needs to be playing 100 games a year or pitching.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably too much.
Yeah,
for sure.
over the top.
Yeah.
So we got about 90 seconds left. This is, and you know this better than anybody, Patrick's going through, he'll go, to whatever area he decides to go, pro, college, and then he'll go to something else, right? This is just a part of his life, and we get to experience that. What was it like for you all to experience the Mr. Kentucky baseball? That's such a huge honor.
Yeah, what was great, it was a goal of his. My wife and I certainly weren't telling him a year ago, that needs to be your goal.
That's right.
It was something that he wanted and it was important to him. And he played against Trinity in a game in April. Trinity is always one of the best teams. And in that game, he had 2 home runs and a double. And that was early in April. And that's, so I think at that point, we were like, oh, this is realistic. He may very well be a candidate for this. And then he just kept it up all year where he was, if you took, I think, any 5-game segment, I don't think his stats are any different at any point. He was just consistently good all year long, and and again, that's all him. It's his work ethic, and he played. We went up to St. X, and they played St. X and another team all day. We got home at 11 o'clock at night, and then he got up the next morning and went to the gym.
He's amazing. I got to wrap.
Okay.
Great seeing you. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be here next week, same time, same place, for Doug Thompson and Coach Lucas Forbes. Good night.